Fine. Hello everyone, warm welcome to Super Coaching Regulatory Bodies YouTube channel, and my name is Madhav Sir. I welcome you all in a very important session for you all. If you're preparing for RBI, SEBI or any other regulatory bodies exam, or maybe the bank exams, finance, current affairs are going to play a really very important role. So today point of discussion is, or I'm going to start my discussion with a very important circular given by RBI related to NABFID. What the circular is, we'll discuss that obviously, but along with that we are going to discuss all the nitty-gritties related to NABFID. What actually NABFID is, you must have heard about All India Financial Institutes, or you can even call them as development institutes, which include NABARD, that is National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. Secondly, we have SIDBI, Small Industrial Development Bank of India. Then we have Exim Bank as well as NHB, that is National Housing Bank. Along with these four, the new entry has been done by the government and the name is NABFID. So this is not a new entry. It was announced back in 2021-22. Why you are discussing this particular point today? The reason is RBI has given a notice related to NABFID. Now let's check out what that news is actually. If I talk about this particular news, RBI has given the notice where RBI has talked about that now onwards NABFID, which is an All India Financial Institute, will also participate in the markets, will also participate in the day-to-day transactions, which include what? So the first which they have mentioned is repo transactions, or we call them as repurchase transactions. Second one we have, that is credit derivatives. But along with that, one thing is also mentioned that this financial institute is also fulfilling the requirement of Basel III, that is Basel Norms 3. The moment you see this particular notice, what things you need to understand, you need to learn, you need to cover for your examination. If I am a student, I'm going to prepare for regulatory bodies exam, especially RBI, then I would say out of this RBI notice, I must know what is NABFID. I must know the latest data related to NABFID, that till date how much loan has been given, what are the future targets. That part is need to be covered. This understanding is very important, guys. Whenever you see a notice, especially the RBI notice, it's always tough to identify what to cover, what not to cover. So I'm giving you the insights with the help of which you can understand how you can proceed for your RBI current affairs. Second point is, after going to this, second point is, sir, I should know about the Basel norms, especially I should know the Basel Norm 3. Third part which I should know after going through with this particular notice, I must know about the repo transactions, or I must know about the repurchase transactions. Fourth part which you should know after all this, that is credit derivatives. If you are clear with all these terms, trust me guys, you are not going to forget any notice given by RBI, and this understanding will help you not only in answering your phase 1 or phase 2 current affair based questions, but also the static conceptual based questions can also be easily answered. Is it clear? I hope the moment you see this notice, do you agree with me that yes, these are the only limelights given in this particular notice? I can show you NABFID is the limelight, Basel III is the limelight, credit derivative is the limelight, and the last one is repurchase transactions are the limelights. So let's try to decode all of them and understand this particular notice first. If I talk about this particular notice, what this notice says that RBI has already announced NABFID as one of the All India Financial Institutes, and being an All India Financial Institute, NABFID is responsible and bounded to fulfill the Basel norms related to the valuation and operations of the investment portfolio. These norms are need to be followed. But along with that, RBI has come up with the master direction where RBI says that now NABFID, like all other all India financial institutes, is allowed to operate in the credit derivative operations. It is allowed to operate in the repurchase transactions. So let's decode this one by one. The first part from where I'm going to start this discussion is, sir, NABFID became All India Financial Institute when? So NABFID, which stands for National Bank for Financing Infrastructure as well as Development, it has received the approval. I would say the NABFID Act received the approval or signature of the President in 2021, and it became a law on 19th of April 2021. So since 2021, NABFID is operating in the country, and finally RBI is responsible for the regulation of NABFID as in the same manner, under the same jurisdiction as RBI is regulating and supervising the other All India financial institutes. Other All India financial institutes include Exim, NABARD, NHB and SEBI, which means NABFID is the fifth All India financial institute which is regulated and supervised by RBI under Section 45L and Section 45N of RBI Act 1934. Is it clear till this point? So first question which can be asked from you is, sir, NABFID was set up under its own act? Your answer is yes. It was set up under NABFID Act 2021, and this act was effective since April 2021, and RBI has declared NABFID as All India Financial Institutes along with the 4 other financial institutes which are already operating. Now, let's check out more nitty-gritties related to NABFID. So as I discussed, NABFID was set up in 2021 under the NABFID Act 2021. It is what? Sir, it is basically a development financial institution in India which will focus on long-term infrastructure financing. As the name suggests, National Bank for Financing Infrastructure. So this bank has been set up. This development institute has been set up for what purpose? So it has been set up for providing long-term financing services. Long-term financing services for infrastructure projects. Long-term financing services for infrastructure projects. Next point which is important, sir, it is regulated and supervised by which organization? This is very important because the moment this question is asked in the examination, right now it's looking very easy. Right now it is looking very easy that yes sir, it is regulated by RBI, it's fine. But when the question is given, out of the following organization, which of the following organization is not regulated by RBI, then you need to choose which is not regulated, and the first target would be NABFID. You must feel that, oh, okay, it's a financial institution, it's a development institution, it is basically circulating the government funds for the purpose of infrastructure development. It should be regulated by Ministry of Finance, but that's not true. It is regulated and supervised by RBI. It is regulated and supervised by RBI. I hope you must know the authorized share capital. I don't know whether you are aware of this or not. I'll just make you understand. Whenever a company is set up, company's authorized capital is defined. Authorized capital means the capital which can be generated by the company in its entire lifetime. So this company is set up with the authorized capital of 1 lakh crore rupees. With the authorized capital of 1 lakh crore rupees, and this is not fixed. Over the period of time, when the company expands, this authorized capital can be revised and it can be increased, as we have witnessed in case of NABARD. When NABARD was set up, it was set up with an authorized capital of 5,000 crore, but later on its authorized capital was expanded till the value of 30,000 crore rupees. So that is authorized capital. Now, if I talk about the initial capital infusion, so till now, government has infused 20,000 crore rupees in this organization, and government has provided 5,000 crore rupees as a grant. Grant for what purpose? A grant for infrastructure development purpose. Remember that this provide specialized financing for, or this organization is being set up for providing the specialized financing for infrastructure development. And what are the goals? So goals include long-term finance for the infrastructures, development of bonds and derivative market in India, as well as boost the country's economy sustainability. These are the targets. These are the, I would say, objectives which have been set up. These are the objectives which have been set up related to NABFID. In February 2024, our finance minister, her name is, we all know that, Nirmala Sitharamanji, she has reviewed the performance of NABFID, which means I'm sharing the latest data with you. As of, to be very exact, as of 29th February 2024, NABFID performance has been reviewed. NABFID performance has been reviewed, and under this performance review, it has witnessed that this organization is working with respect to business, resource raising, developmental initiatives, human resources, information technology, as well as the financial initiatives. So on all these grounds, this particular organization, that is NABFID, was reviewed by the government. So what were the main highlights? Please pay attention. These main highlights are really very important. Direct question can be asked in your examination related to the latest updates from NABFID. So the first point says, NABFID started its operation with a small team of deputed officials from 12 institutions, both from public and private sector. So this is the first point, that NABFID, which started its operation in 2021, it has started its operation with a very small team, and the team was deployed from public sector as well as private sector organizations. It got operationalized with the disbursement of its first loan. So NABFID has disbursed its first loan in which year? So it was set up in 2021, but almost after 1.5 years, the first loan was dispersed, and that was in December 2022. Now I'm coming to the figures which are really very important. Do mark them down. First point is, sir, NABFID till now means till February 2024, NABFID has sanctioned what value of loans? So till now, NABFID has sanctioned a loan value of 86,804 crore rupees, and this loan is given for obviously infrastructure development, but in a very diversified manner, which include for the development of roads, renewable power, ports, railways, water and sanitization. Then we have city gas distribution and many other. Out of all these 86,000 crore rupees of loan given, 50% loan is long term. 50% loan is long term, which is sanctioned for more than 5 years, that is 5 to 20 years. So 50% of the total loan is sanctioned for in the long term scenario, and that is basically the first objective, that this organization will be responsible to disburse long term loans. Moving on to the next point. The next point says NABFID. This is what, so this is the target. After giving you the current status, now then target is shared. Target says NABFID will sanction over 3 lakh crore rupees by March 2026. So what you need to note down? First thing which you need to note down is, sir, by March 2026, target of loan is 3 lakh crore rupees. Target of loan is 3 lakh crore rupees, and till February 2024, total loan which has been disbursed is around 86,000 crores. Just see, the disbursement of 86,000 crore rupees is done almost in less than 2 years, almost in I would say 1 year and 3 months, because in December 2022, as I discussed, first loan was given. Until February 2024, 86,000 crore rupees of lending has been done, and the target is 3 lakh crore rupees by March 2026, which I feel it's quite achievable, and we are expecting the organization to achieve these targets. After that, NABFID, if I talk about this institution, is already collaborating with the other institutions so that long-term credit lines can be provided, blended concessional finance can be given, even technical assistance can be given, or knowledge sharing can be done for better results. Then NABFID has collaborated with International Finance Corporation. It has also collaborated with International Finance Corporation so that transaction advisory services can be provided in order to showcase triple P projects across the India's infrastructure sector. So in order to attract investment in the triple P infrastructure sector of India, this bank has also tied up with International Finance Corporation. Last but not the least is all the targets, all the initiatives taken by NABFID is in line with the set target of Viksit Bharat, that is by 2047 we are trying to achieve the target of a developed nation. Is it clear, everyone? So what is NABFID? That is absolutely correct. I hope that is clear to you. When it was set up, what was the authorized capital, ownership is with entirely Government of India, it is 100% government owned organization, and the other functions as well as goals are discussed. Then even I have discussed the current status of this particular organization, which says 86,000 crore rupees of lending has been done till February 2024, and 50%, more than 50% of the total loan were long term, which were 5 to 20 years, which were of tenor 5 to 20 years. What is the target? So the target is 3 lakh crore rupees, and all the initiatives, all the steps taken by NABFID is on the lines to achieve the target of Viksit Bharat by 2047. By 2047. Is it clear till this point, guys? Is it clear till this point? Now, let's move on to the second segment of this particular session. The second segment talks about that, sir, in this notice itself, RBI's notice was talking about Basel III. I'm just giving you a glimpse that what actually Basel norms are, which are really very important for you to understand. Guys, whenever this question is asked that what do you understand by the term Basel norms, we all know that. So Basel norm is basically the norms given by BCBS, that is Basel Committee, that is the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision. If I talk about BCBS, this committee is coming up with certain rules and regulations which are presented as a suggestion to its member central banks, and it's up to the central banks that whether they are going to implement it or not. What I'm trying to say, Basel 1, Basel 2, Basel 3 was not binding on RBI. RBI is the member of BIS, that is Bank for International Settlement, but the Basel norms, they are not binding in nature. So it's up to RBI whether RBI want to implement it in its economy or not. But yes, RBI has implemented Basel 1 as well as Basel 2 and the other Basel norms as well. If I talk about the latest norms, so these are the Basel 3 norms, which basically focus first and the most important part, that is bank risk mitigation. अगली बार अगर कोई पूछे कि Basel norm आखिरकार क्यों आए, what is the logic behind Basel norm, your answer should be, so Basel norms are basically designed to help the banks so that they can mitigate their risk, and if on a global level rules or regulations are framed, and if these policies are implemented in almost all the large economies of the world, it will result in global financial as well as monetary stability. That is the agenda. We all know that CAR, capital adequacy ratio, it should be greater than 8%, but according to RBI it should be greater than 9%. But do you know that CAR is capital to risk weighted asset ratio? And what is this risk weighted asset ratio? So risk weighted asset ratio is the total risk, or I would say sum of risk on banks every asset, which means sum of credit risk, sum of liquidity risk, sum of reputational risk, sum of market risk, sum of operational risk. Then all those risks, when we add all those risks, we obtain a term that is RWA. So in order to stand strong during tough times, if bank is having the adequate value of capital, bank can survive, due to which these Basel norms were introduced. But in Basel 3, there were few new introductions. I hope you must have heard about these new introductions, such as liquidity coverage ratio, net stable funding ratio, as well as leverage ratio. These three things were newly introduced if I compare it with Basel 2. That means Basel 3 is an advanced version, which is, I would say, more refined in order to help the bank, in order to safeguard the bank, in order to make the bank, I would say, strong enough to mitigate all the risks which are prevailing to the banking industry. So these terms are really very important related to your Basel 3. Moving on to the third phase of our session. The third phase talks about, sir, in this particular news itself, there was a term mentioned that is repurchase transaction. There was a term mentioned that is repurchase transaction. How many of you have heard about repurchase transaction? I think most of you have not heard about it, but you must have heard about repo rate. You must have heard about repo rate. And what do you understand by this word repo rate? So repo rate basically means the rate of interest which is charged by bank when bank provide loan. Rate of interest which is charged by RBI when RBI provide loan to the banks for short term. Loans to the bank for short term. That is true. But this repo rate is used as a liquidity adjustment facility, which means bank, they borrow from RBI in order to manage their overnight liquidity. But if I only talk about this term, that is repo, so repo word stands for repurchasing agreement. Repo word stands for repurchasing agreement. And what are repurchasing transactions? So repurchasing transactions basically means, let's suppose there is an individual 1, there is an individual 2. Individual 1 is having government security. Individual 1 has issued this government security, to individual 2, and against this government security, individual 2 has given loan to individual 1. But there is a condition. The condition is when individual 1 pay back the borrowing amount, pay back the borrowed amount as well as the interest rate, then this individual 1 can repurchase back. It will repurchase back the same security which it has given as a collateral at the time of borrowing. So repurchasing agreement basically means when you borrow loan against a security and after completing the loan, that is paying the rate of interest, paying back the principal, you repurchase back the same security. That process is known as repurchasing transactions. It's not only repo rate, it's not only related to RBI and banks, but it is related in general as well. So let's quickly discuss few of the important aspects related to repo transactions. So repo transactions, in case of repo transaction, the first and the most important point is, sir, what collaterals are used? Collateral means what kind of securities are used. So the securities such as government securities, debentures, bonds which are issued in the economy, they can be used as repo transaction. They can be used as security, as collateral in the repo transactions. But remember, only and only high quality debt instruments can be issued. Counterparty risk. What is counterparty risk? So counterparty risk means when two parties are involved, party 1, party 2, and out of the two parties, one party do not fulfill the obligations, rules, regulations, compliances of the agreement, then the second party will witness the loss. That probability of loss because of failure of fulfillment of compliance by the first party is known as counterparty risk. So counterparty risk can be mitigated. How counterparty risk can be mitigated? So it can be mitigated using the collateral. So you have the government securities, you have the bonds. If the borrower do not pay back your loan, there is nothing to worry. You can sell that security in the market to recover your amount, to recover your lended amount. Third point is very important. This question was asked in SEBI examination. What do you understand by the word far leg? The word far leg basically means, when we talk about far leg, it is also known as closed leg. It is also termed as closed leg. So second leg of a repo transaction, when the seller repurchases the security at the agreed upon price. What I'm trying to say, as I took the example that individual 1 has issued the security to individual 2, but on repayment of principal plus interest, he will be purchasing back the same security. So this process where you pay principal and interest and repurchase the same security, that is known as closed leg, that is known as last transaction, that is known as completing transaction, and that is known as far leg. That is known as what? That is far leg. So we have two legs in repo transactions. The first one is open leg, when security is given, loan is borrowed. Far leg is When you pay back the principal, you pay back the interest rate and you repurchase back your security. That is known as far leg. This is important. Moving on to next. So generally, treasury bills issued by the government are used as a collateral. Generally, treasury bills issued by the government are used as collateral, but not, this is not the only case. You can even use the other securities as a collateral to borrow under repo transaction. Repo transaction basically means repurchasing agreement. You need to fulfill the criteria of repurchasing agreement, which is very important. How many of you have heard this word haircut? I know I'm not talking about your haircut, but I'm talking about the term haircut in banking sector. Have you ever heard it? Again, this question was asked in RBI examination. I don't remember exactly in which year, but yes, haircut term related question was asked in RBI Grade B exam itself, where they want to know whether their future officers, they know the meaning of haircut or not. Anyone out there with me in the comment section can give me the answer what actually haircut is. Sir, haircut basically means the difference between market value of collateral and the amount of cash loaned. Okay, if I discuss a term, you might have heard about margin requirement. If you ask me, so what is margin requirement? Let's say I reach to the bank to borrow loan and I'm borrowing loan against gold. I have given gold of value 1 lakh rupees. Against that 1 lakh rupees, bank is lending 80,000 rupees. I said, that's why you are giving me amount of 80,000 only. On one side, I have given you a security of 1 lakh. Bank replies, sir, I have to recover my principal as well as interest. So in order to recover my interest at the time of default, I cannot provide you loan equal to your security value. And this is also known as LTV, that is loan to value ratio. This is also known as loan to value ratio. If loan to value ratio is 80%, it means if your value is of 100, loan will be 80. It means if your value is of 1 CR, loan will be of 80 lakhs. So this loan to value ratio is generally used. The same way, we have a term that is haircut. Haircut basically means some market price of the security. Security means the debt instrument, the bond, the government security, the treasury bill, which you have given as a collateral at the time of borrowing minus amount of loan received. That difference is known as haircut. So haircut is again something like a margin requirement, where this haircut is maintained in order to avoid loss of interest at the time of default. It is basically to avoid loss of interest at the time of default. That is a kind of buffer which is maintained by the lender. Next point, near leg, I have already discussed. What is open repo? So open repo means repo transaction with no fixed maturity date. If you have conducted a repo transaction, but you have not cleared that on what date I will be purchasing back my security, that is known as open repo transaction. What is overnight repo transaction? So overnight repo transaction is a transaction where you are borrowing for 1 day. What is repurchase price? So the price at which the seller agrees to repurchase the security at maturity, that means principal plus interest, is known as the repurchase price. This is the price which you are going to pay, at far leg. This is the price which you are going to pay at far leg, that is closed leg, and near leg is known as open leg, start leg. Got it, guys? Last but not the least is, what is repo rate? So interest rate on a repo transaction, which is determined by the difference between sale and repurchase price. For example, I have a government security of market price 10,000, and against this you have given me a loan of 9,000. So the difference is 1,000 rupees. So you have given me 9,000 rupees on loan, and against this you have charged 1,000 rupees of interest. So what is the interest value? So that is 9,000 divided by 1,000, and when we calculate this value comes out to be 100 upon 9. So this 100 upon 9 is the rate of interest which is actually charged by the lender, which is actually paid by the borrower. Last but not the least is, that is tenor. Whenever you use this word tenor in case of loan basically means time period of loan. And in case of repo, it can be as low as 1 day and it can be as high as 1 year, but it cannot be more than 1 year in case of not repo rate. I'm not saying repo rate, but in case of what? In case of repo transactions. We have a term that is term repo. So term repo basically means when the loan is taken for more than 1 day, it is term repo. If it is taken less than 1 day, 24 hours, then in that case we use a word repo transaction. Otherwise we use a word term repo transaction. What is tri-party repo? So tri-party repo means when you involve a third party, individual 1, individual 2. In order to avoid risk, they involve a third party and the third party act as a guarantor for both of them. It secures the asset which is given as a security, and if any party do not fulfill the obligations, then the recovery can be given by this mediator. And this kind of agreement in which 3 parties are involved, second party act as a mediator, guarantor and facilitator, is known as third party in this transaction, and that type of transaction is known as tri-party transaction. That type of transaction is known as what? Sir, it is known as tri-party transaction. Okay, it is a good question. The question has been asked by Abhinay. Abhinay is saying, sir, why banks they borrow for just 1 day? Any idea, guys? Anyone out there? Anyone out there who is listening to me in this particular session? Do you have any idea that why banks do borrow for 1 day? I'll explain you. I'll explain you this question. Just give me a minute. Please pay attention on the screen. Guys, I'm talking about a bank, okay? This bank has accepted a deposit of, let's say, 100 rupees. Deposit of, let's say, 100 rupees. Out of this 100, bank has maintained the liquidity reserve ratio. Some amount has been invested by the bank and rest amount is available for loan. Let's say the amount which is available for loan is 70 rupees, and out of 70, bank has given a loan of 50 rupees. But this 20 rupees, which is surplus with the bank, do you think, अगर एक ब्रांच की बात करूं, अगर एक ब्रांच में 20 रुपए सरप्लस है और जाते हुए ब्रांच मैनेजर क्या खुश होगा कि बहुत बढ़िया हमारी ब्रांच में 20 रुपए पड़े हैं, लेट्स एंजॉय? दैट इज नॉट पॉसिबल. क्यों? असल में ये जो 20 रुपए हैं ये बैंक के अपने नहीं है. दिस इज बेसिकली व्हाट? सो दिस इज बैंक्स लायबिलिटी. दिस इज बेसिकली बैंक्स लायबिलिटी. और अगर बैंक ने ये पैसा आज रात अपने पास रखा तो इस पे इंटरेस्ट बैंक को अपनी पॉकेट से देना होगा. आप सोच के देखो, जब आप पैसा बैंक में डिपॉजिट करते हो तो क्या बैंक आपको ये कहता है कि आपका इंटरेस्ट 2 दिन के बाद स्टार्ट होगा या 5 दिन के बाद स्टार्ट होगा? नहीं. आपको बैंक ये तो नहीं कहता भैया आपका पैसा तो अभी लोन पे गया नहीं, पैसा मेरे पास ही पड़ा है तो मैं इंटरेस्ट नहीं दे सकता. ऐसा तो पॉसिबल नहीं है. बैंक तो आपको डे 1 से इंटरेस्ट देता है. और अगर आज आपने डिपॉजिट किया, बैंक को आज से इस पे इंटरेस्ट पे करना, और अगर ये पैसा लोन पे नहीं गया तो ये बैंक के लिए क्या हो गई? लायबिलिटी. यानी बैंक अपनी पॉकेट से क्या पे करेगा? इंटरेस्ट पे करेगा. सो इन ऑर्डर टू अवॉइड दिस सिचुएशन, बैंक क्या करता है? बैंक इसी पैसे को डिपॉजिट कर देता है विद आरबीआई. अब आप सोचो, इन्वेस्ट करना, सर इन्वेस्ट करना चाहता था, लेकिन ये कैलकुलेशन तो हुई कब? जब ब्रांच बंद कर रहे थे. ये कैलकुलेशन तो हुई कब? जब बैंकिंग सिस्टम को क्लोज कर रहे थे. लेकिन शेयर मार्केट तो कब की क्लोज हो गई? फिर वो रिस्की भी है. तो इट्स बेटर कि ये जो पैसा आपके पास एक्स्ट्रा है वो क्या करो? आरबीआई के पास डिपॉजिट कर दो. आरबीआई बदले में आपको या तो रिवर्स रेपो रेट देगा, अगर आपको सिक्योरिटी चाहिए, नहीं चाहिए तो आरबीआई आपको क्या देगा? स्टैंडिंग डिपॉजिट फैसिलिटी देगा. समझ आई ये बात? समझ आई ये बात? अब दूसरी तरफ देखो. दूसरी तरफ क्या कि सर आज बैंक के पास पैसा जो डिपॉजिट हुआ वो था 100 रुपए, और जब बैंक रात को अपनी ब्रांच क्लोज करने लगा तो बैंक ने देखा कि भैया आज हमने लोन दे दिया 90 रुपीज का, जबकि हमारी कैपेसिटी थी लोन देने की कितनी? 70. और ये जो 20 रुपए का एक्स्ट्रा लोन दिया वो आपने कहां से निकाल लिया? रिजर्व से. और अगर रिजर्व मेंटेन नहीं किए तो आरबीआई आपके ऊपर पेनल्टी चार्ज करेगा. अब बैंक इस सिचुएशन में ब्रांच -20 लिखकर, या बैंक पूरा का पूरा अपना सिस्टम -20 पे बंद करके तो जा नहीं सकता, क्योंकि आरबीआई चैलेंज करेगा. -20 का मतलब रिजर्व्स कम रखे. रिजर्व्स कम रखे तो भैया पेनल्टी चार्ज करो. उस केस में क्या होगा? सर उस केस में आरबीआई फिर से पिक्चर में आएगा और बैंक ये जो 20 रुपए की कमी है इसे आरबीआई से बोरो करेगा. अब मैं बोरो कितने टाइम के लिए करूं? भैया आज रात के लिए कर लो, सुबह तो डिपॉजिट आ ही जाएगा. आज रात के लिए बोरो कर लो, सुबह तो डिपॉजिट आ ही जाएगा. दैट इज द रीजन बैंक बोरो फॉर 1 डे, बैंक लेंड फॉर 1 डे, क्योंकि कल तो दोबारा लोन दे ही पाएंगे. सो दिस इज नोन एज व्हाट, इसी स्टोरी को तो क्या कहते हैं, लिक्विडिटी एडजस्टमेंट फैसिलिटी कहते हैं, व्हिच मींस व्हेन बैंक ट्राई टू maintain their overnight balances. When bank try to maintain their overnight balances, that is known as liquidity adjustment facility, which can be achieved with the help of repo rate, MSF and the many other services provided by RBI. बोलो क्लियर हुआ, बोलो क्लियर हुआ. Abhinav, is it clear? Abhinav, is it clear? How many of you have heard this story for the very first time? या बैंक एक दिन के लिए लोन क्यों लेता है, बैंक एक दिन के लिए आरबीआई के पास पैसा क्यों डिपॉजिट करता है? मुझे लगता है 99% स्टूडेंट्स को ये कॉन्सेप्ट पता ही नहीं. स्टिल दे आर मगिंग अप व्हाट इज रेपो रेट, दे आर मगिंग अप व्हाट इज एमएसएफ. अनडाउटली मग अप करने से, थोड़ा बहुत समझने से एग्जाम निकल जाते हैं, काफियों के निकल भी गए हैं. लेकिन जब आप प्रैक्टिकली बैंक में काम करते हैं, आरबीआई में, सेबी में काम करते हैं, तब ये बातें आपको समझने में अरसा लग जाता है. इट्स बेटर लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड दीज थिंग्स बिफोर हैंड, which will help us to, I would say, which will help us to act, or which will provide us with the confidence during our final interview as well as in our day-to-day working with the financial institutes. Is it clear, everyone? Is it clear? How was the concept? How was this concept? Do reply in the comment section. Don't sit like this. Do reply in the comment section. Do reply in the comment section. Don't sit like this. If you have heard all these things for the very first time, do acknowledge me in the comment section if you have enjoyed it. Moving on to the next news. The next news talks about lead bank scheme. The next news which we have is lead bank scheme. Why I'm talking about lead bank scheme? I have a reason for it. So lead bank scheme was in news recently in the RBI notification itself. What was the news which I'm trying to limelight over here? So recently it has been announced the new district was formed in the state of Nagaland, and in the new district of Nagaland, new lead bank was required. So the name of the district which is newly created is Meluri. This is very important. Newly created district of Nagaland is Meluri, and lead bank for Meluri is SBI. Lead bank for Meluri is what? So that is SBI. So this is one of the important update. But from here, one thing becomes very important. What do you understand by the word lead bank scheme? What do you understand by the word lead bank scheme? In the next class, I'll start my discussion. I'll start my discussion with lead bank scheme only. With lead bank scheme only. But I want everyone, those who are listening to me, do write in the comment section when lead bank scheme was introduced. In which year lead bank scheme was introduced. Is it clear? So that will be all from my side. I hope each and every point which we have discussed today. Sorry for the issues in the starting. There was some technical issue in the starting, but I think after that everything went quite smoothly. So if you want to prepare for your upcoming examination, you can join our Lakshya batch, which is live. Do join this particular batch in order to ensure your selection in the RBI Grade B examination. You can download the PDF of this session from this link, scan the code, join the channel, and you can download the PDF from this channel itself. Thank you so much for joining. We'll catch you soon. Good luck. God bless you all. Bye-bye. Take care. See you on Saturday. So I come regularly Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So your next class will be conducted on Saturday, same time, 5 p.m. Today the class was conducted on 5:15. Many of the students, they were not able to join. From Saturday onwards, we'll change the time to 5 p.m. only. PIB current affairs, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5 p.m. Finance current affairs, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 5 p.m. We'll fix the time. Okay. Thank you so much. Good luck. God bless you all. See you. Bye-bye.